fourth edict already burns for your ravaging pain. Embrace the infinite void. This is the legacy of humanity.
What's up, YouTube? I'm Mr. Caboose. I just finished completing every boss in the game except for the temple, because I've done the temple enough times last season, so probably won't touch it. Every boss was pretty easy, and I did them on the first try, except for the ritual boss. That boss was pretty difficult, but that also might have been from a bug, but I'm not sure. So I thought I would share this build for people who want to follow it or make it better. I'm not a build creator yet, at least, so not all of it is perfectly optimized. I do prefer to build very tanky, so if you would rather have more damage, you can actually change the build quite a bit, go more damage route, but I found that I had plenty of damage. So start with the only required item in the build is the Fury of the King Talisman, which is because it gives you the Molten Crash. That Molten Crash is what does a lot of damage. Every time you leap, it puts all the fissures on the ground, and then you just place your totems, and it detonates the fissures. And then as far as the rest of the gear, I'm just going with high armor, life resistances, and then the armor applies to elemental damage on every piece that I can get. As far as the ruins, I use them to fill out my resistances, and then once my resistances are capped, I put the body rune for more life. You can also put in iron runes for more armor. You can see most of this gear is nothing special. Everything was very cheap. This flask is not required. Something you can do much later on when you have currency to waste. It just makes it so I don't have to use a mana potion ever. Before that, I only had to use a mana potion every once in a while. Your charms, not important, except for immunity to freeze. Passive tree. I just really was going for a little bit of mana regen, because that helps out with the fury regen. For important parts, grabbing stuff that increases my max rage, which will help give me more damage and survivability, thanks to this node, which allows you to have rage. It gives you armor based on the rage you have. With 75 rage, that's quite a bit of armor, and you're pretty much always capped on rage. I'm also getting armor applies to elemental damage. Another thing to note, once you get the filament for your amulet, you can put this on there. It is pretty expensive, probably the most expensive part of the build, but I did kill the Arbiter of Divinity and Ash without any problems without that. But once you can get the instillment, you can unspec out of all these points and apply them towards when you deal more damage against ignited enemies, and all enemies are basically always ignited. And also, that's when I grab increased damage against shocked enemies and more damage against ignited. I'm not sure how good this section is. I just really needed more strength, and it also gave me more life, so I was 1 point away, so I just grabbed this anyways, see if it does anything. Not necessary. Yeah, that's about it for the tree. We go up here and grab the damages, extra lightning damage to get the shock effect. You don't shock everything, but on bosses, you'll shock them after a few hits. And then for the ascendancy, you want to come up here and grab the Furious Wellspring first. It's the most important part of the build. It's what you can use to make it so you generate rage over time. That way, Walking Calamity only takes a few seconds to regenerate. And then after you grab that, I like to come down and then I also come and grab this node next because the 10% less elemental damage taken. I'm trying to build as tanky as I can on a budget. And lastly, grab the bonded modifiers on runes, because then that makes it so all my armor pieces give me more life and mana. Then it's also the reason why I put perfect body rune on my weapon, even though I don't deal enough physical damage for the leech to help. The 10% increase max life is very nice. If you're trying to go more damage, you can put in the attack speed runes instead. The skills, so Maul doesn't do too much. I don't use it very often. It's just to generate some fury and fill the gaps. As far as support runes, I'm not the greatest at figuring out what's the best support rune, so that's probably where I can improve the most. But I know rapid attacks is pretty useful. To go rage 3, because it gives you more attack speed while not at max rage. The life leech, not useful. Probably need something else. I barely do enough physical damage for it to help. Close combat, and then fire attunement. Then the important ability, Molten Crash. I go rapid attacks 2, fire attunement, fire penetration. Now, if you want to go further in this build and spend some money, you can replace that with Rockiatus Flow for a big damage increase. Elemental Armament 2. And then I go Holy Descent for the Consecrated Ground, because the Consecrated Ground gives you a 5% life regen per second while you're on the ground, and then also the 50% reduce effective curses. Pretty nice for survivability. You can definitely change that if you want to go for more damage. And then Walking Calamity probably does the most amount of damage. I do Prolonged Duration, Elemental Armament 2, Fire Penetration 2. That's another one that you can replace with Rockiatus Flow. Concentrated Area, and then Rapid Attacks, then Shockwave Totem. You use Urgent Totems, gives yourself faster placements, and then it also gives them faster attack speed. I do Reinforced Totems, Party Totems, then Overabundance. Furious Slam, not important. I just use it for some testing. Don't actually use it in the build. Then for the auras, I do Herald of Ash because it helps with the clear a little bit, but the important part of it is I've got them linked to Cannibalism for some extra sustain, Precision just to help out on the accuracy side, Clarity 1, a little more mana regen, which is more rage regen, and then Vitality as well in Overwhelming Presence, because that helps apply the ailments a little bit easier since I don't have much chance to shock. So for leveling, in Act 1 I use plants until I get a good enough talisman. Then I immediately switch to going bear with the Maul and Furious Slam. And then as soon as I unlock Fury of the Mountain, I will switch to that. Basically do a similar setup where you place it down, place your totems, and then you would slam. And that would just delete all the bosses until you get Walking Calamity in Act 4, in late Act 4. Then I switch back to using Maul and Furious Slam with Walking Calamity. just to save my computer. But leveling is pretty simple. The bear is a little bit of a glass cannon while leveling, especially in Act 1, and it gets better over time. That happens a lot because you gain plus 10 armor per level while in bear form. So at level 1, yeah, that's only 10 armor, but at level 90, that is 900 armor, which is almost the chess piece for the campaign quest choices. In Act 3, I went with the mana regen. Act 4 with the shark fin, which is new. I went with the 30% increased armor. In the interludes, I went with the 15% increased global armor. You can also go with the resistances if you're struggling for it. For the other ones, you can pick whatever you need. It's because you can change that choice whenever, it doesn't matter. I have included a Maxwell link in the description below. In there, you can see all the gear, the quest choices, and then I included the leveling trees as well, um, and then the pre-instilling of the amulet. I am not a build creator, so didn't put a whole bunch of descriptions and stuff in here, or the leveling gems. If people really want it, I will write a full build guide, but it takes a lot of work, so I'm just trying it out this way first. I am aware that I am not the first person to come up with this build, and I'm not trying to copy them. This is just my version of it. If you're trying to push into the giga juicing of the end game, I would follow someone like Alstrom, who has a guide on Maxwell, and I will finish this off with a map. I always start by waiting just a little bit so that Walking Calamity can charge, because you need to be at full rage for it to happen. Then for clearing, I let Walking Calamity do most of the work. And then I just use Molten Crash. And whenever there's a rare enemy that's hard to kill, I'll place down the totems.
So secret anymore.
boss fight. Just place down your 2 totems and literally spam pound. Got it.